There are pockets on this planet where the fabric of reality feels thin, as if the physical laws governing our world simply stopped applying. Beyond the edges of our daily routines lies a vast, untamed theater of geological anomalies and colossal structures that challenge the very limits of human imagination. Here, you will find landscapes that breathe with an ancient mystery. From blood-red waters hidden in shifting sands to stone pillars that appear to hover in a sea of clouds, it is a journey that shifts from the adrenaline of the abyss to the profound silence of a sacred summit. We have gathered 28 wonders that shouldn't exist, yet they stand as measurable parts of our world. The veil is lifting. It is time for you to see the unseen. Ulan Lake, Inner Mongolia. Deep within the shifting dunes of the Tengger Desert lies a geological glitch that looks like a literal beating heart carved into the earth. This vibrant, blood-red body of water is a hypersaline miracle, where ancient evaporation cycles have concentrated minerals to a level that defies conventional biology. The surreal crimson hue is driven by specialized, salt-loving extremophile algae that thrive in conditions that would kill almost any other organism. From a drone's perspective, the lake doesn't just look like water, it resembles a visceral biological organ. Intricate white salt channels spiderweb across the surface like calcified veins, pumping red liquid through the golden landscape. It is a hauntingly beautiful reminder that life does not just survive in the most hostile environments on our planet, it thrives by creating something breathtaking out of pure adversity. Standing on its shores, the silence of the desert amplifies the visual intensity of the scene, making you feel as though you are standing on the surface of a distant, living planet. It is a place where the harshness of the salt and the heat of the sun conspire to create a masterpiece of natural engineering. The blood-red water and the pure white mineral rims are separated by a chemical barrier so precise that they never bleed into one another. From high orbit, the lake's perfect heart shape and deep coloration make it look like the Earth itself has a steady, visible pulse. Chakasold Lake, Qinghai Province. Imagine a 100 square kilometer mirror where the boundary between the sky and the ground simply ceases to exist. Chakasold Lake is a tectonic depression that has spent more than 3,000 years collecting mineral deposits to create the flattest natural surface in the country. Beneath the shallow, crystalline water lies a solid bed of salt between 16 and 49 feet deep, a reserve massive enough to supply the entire human population for over 1 century. Walking across the lake is a sensory deprivation experience. You lose all sense of up and down as the clouds reflect perfectly beneath your feet. It is a silent, white void that forces you to confront the infinite scale of the horizon. There is a profound peace here, a stillness that feels like stepping into a dream where the world has been stripped down to its most basic, beautiful elements. The air is sharp with salt, and the light is so blindingly pure that it feels like you are walking through a high-definition simulation of heaven. The lake possesses a unique ability to self-heal, as rainfall partially dissolves the surface only for the sun to recrystallize it into a fresh, flawless mirror. Cutting straight through this surreal landscape is an abandoned railway track that seems to lead directly into the center of the sky. A haunting remnant of an industrial past, now swallowed by the clouds. Zhangjiajie, Hunan Province. Rising through the thick mountain mist are more than 3,000 sandstone pillars, some standing taller than the most iconic skyscrapers in the world. This is the result of 380 million years of relentless quartz sandstone erosion, creating a vertical stone forest found nowhere else on the planet. Many of these gargantuan spires exceed 1,300 feet in height, easily dwarfing the Empire State Building. When the clouds settle into the valleys, the bases of these mountains disappear entirely, leaving the summits to hover in midair like floating islands. Walking along the high-altitude glass bridges, you aren't just looking at scenery, you are stepping into the real-world inspiration for the planet Pandora. It is the physical realization of the impossible, a landscape that looks like it was designed for a science fiction epic rather than being a product of earthly geology. The scale is so massive that it humbles the human ego, reminding us of the sheer power of time and water to reshape the world. The verticality is so extreme that the local ecosystem has evolved in isolation on the tops of these pillars, far above the forest floor. James Cameron famously used this terrain as the visual blueprint for the film Avatar. Yet the experience is far more surreal than any digital render. In this valley, the fog is so dense and the pillars so steep that gravity often feels like nothing more than a distant suggestion. Jilin Rime Ice. Jilin Province, along the banks of the Songhua River. A rare meteorological event turns the urban landscape into a monochrome forest of white coral overnight. This phenomenon, known as rime ice, occurs when warm vapor from the river meets the bitter -22°F winter air, flash freezing directly onto the branches of trees without a single snowflake falling from the sky. It only happens when humidity and temperature align within a razor-thin window of probability. You wake up in a silent, crystalline world, where every leaf and twig is encased in shimmering ice crystals. The air is so cold it freezes your breath instantly. Yet the river continues to flow, steaming in the sub-zero temperatures. It is a fragile masterpiece that proves the most beautiful things in our world are often the most fleeting. Walking through the white canopy feels like moving through a dream that could shatter at any moment. There is a deep, heavy peace in the air, a stillness that only comes when the world is locked in a deep freeze. It is a visual reminder of the delicate balance required for nature to produce something so perfect and temporary. When the morning sun finally rises above the horizon, the entire city shatters like a glass house as the ice layers collapse all at once. The magnificent crystal display vanishes without a trace, leaving the world exactly as it was before the vapor froze. Zhangjiajie, Sichuan Province. In the high mountains of northern Sichuan, there is a sunken forest preserved within lakes so transparent they look like liquid glass. These multicolored bodies of water were formed by tectonic shifts that created natural dams of calcium carbonate over millions of years. The high mineral content pickles fallen trees, preventing them from decaying and leaving 100-year-old trunks visible at the bottom like ancient fossils. It is like looking through a window into a prehistoric aquarium where the water shifts from emerald to turquoise based on the angle of the sun. The clarity is so intense that the depth becomes an optical illusion, making objects 60 feet down appear as if they are within arm's reach. This is nature's way of preserving its own history in a liquid vault, a place where time seems to have been suspended in a crystalline medium. The peace found here is visceral, a quiet that settles deep into your bones as you watch the light refract off the mineral-rich lake bed. It is a landscape that feels too pure to be real, a sanctuary of color and clarity hidden away from the modern world. This valley served as the iconic backdrop for the legendary television adaptation of Journey to the West, cementing its place in cultural mythology. The water is so unnaturally clear and the colors so vibrant that many first-time visitors are convinced they are looking at an artificial environment. Changbai Mountain, Jilin Province, sitting at the border of China and North Korea, is a rare shield volcano whose summit has collapsed into a massive crater lake 7,000 feet above sea level. This is the site of the Millennium eruption in 946 AD, one of the most violent volcanic events in recorded human history. Today, the crater is filled by Heaven Lake, a body of water that is almost always sealed off from the world by a permanent wall of clouds and intense pressure layers. The snow that covers the surrounding peaks isn't actually snow at all, but volcanic pumice left behind by the mountain's explosive past. standing on the rim. The silence is deafening, and the thin air makes you feel as though you have reached the entrance to another dimension. It is a dormant giant holding a lake like a peace offering. A massive reservoir of deep blue water trapped in a ring of jagged stone. The sheer scale of the caldera is a reminder of the raw power that still sleeps beneath the Earth's crust. It is a place of mystery and high-altitude isolation, where the weather can change in a matter of seconds. Most visitors will climb the summit 10 times and never actually see the water due to the thick, protective fog. Local legends have persisted for centuries, claiming that a massive, unidentified monster lives in the freezing depths of the crater lake. Longmen, China. Deep in the heart of Hunan province lies a geological masterwork that geologists often call the soul of the Danxia landforms. Langshan is defined by its massive, smooth, red sandstone peaks that resemble colossal candles rising from the earth or giant whales surfacing from a prehistoric ocean. These structures were sculpted over 100 million years of tectonic uplift and relentless weathering, resulting in a landscape that feels fundamentally alien. The most striking architectural feat of nature here is a 650-foot natural stone bridge, so perfectly slender that it looks like it was engineered by a race of giants. As you wander through the narrow crevices between these scarlet giants, you feel like a tiny ant lost within a labyrinth of red clay and primeval green forest. This place represents a deep collision between the Earth's inner fire and its outer biological life. It is a sanctuary where the silence of the stone is occasionally broken by the whisper of the wind through the valleys. The atmosphere is heavy with the weight of deep time, inviting a sense of profound peace and cosmic insignificance. Remarkably, there is a natural spring that flows from the very tip of one of the highest peaks, defying the logic of water pressure. On foggy days, the base of the mountain disappears completely, making the rounded peaks look like they are literally swimming through the clouds. Moon Hill, China. Rising abruptly from the karst landscape of Yangshuo is a limestone peak with a celestial secret carved into its summit. Moon Hill features a massive, near-perfect circular opening that cuts directly through the stone, creating a natural window to the sky. This astronomical arch is the remains of an ancient underground river cave. Exposed to the world after millions of years of erosion wore away the surrounding mountain. Standing 164 feet tall, the arch is a miracle of structural stability. Measuring only a few feet thick at its thinnest point, despite supporting thousands of tons of limestone above it, to reach this hollowed peak, you must ascend over 800 stone steps on a path known as the Road to the Moon. Once inside the arch, The geometry of the stone acts as a natural acoustic amplifier, allowing even the faint whispers of farmers in the valley far below to be heard clearly at the center of the mountain. It serves as a haunting reminder that even the most stubborn stone can be hollowed out by the patient persistence of time. As you traverse the trail below, the opening undergoes a breathtaking optical illusion, shifting its shape to mirror the phases of the moon from crescent to full. Though it appears fragile, this 200-foot arch has maintained its mechanical stability against gravity and seismic stress for thousands of years. Detian Waterfall, China, situated directly on the international border between China and Vietnam. This site represents the largest transnational waterfall in all of Asia. The river collapses over 3 distinct tiers of karst limestone, creating a thunderous veil of white water that stretches over 650 feet wide. As the river plunges into the deep green abyss below, the air becomes thick with a permanent mist that supports a lush, primeval ecosystem. To experience the falls, you can drift on a traditional bamboo raft, moving so close to the cascading wall of water that a single step in the wrong direction could technically place you in a different country. The roar of the water drowns out the world, replaced by a visceral sense of awe and a deep, rhythmic peace. The surrounding landscape is defined by symmetrical, cone-shaped hills that look almost hand-sculpted, rising from the mist like silent guardians of the frontier. It is a place where nature ignores the artificial lines drawn by maps, proving that water and gravity recognize no political borders. The fine spray from the falls is so consistent that it often generates up to 3 simultaneous rainbows arching across the tiers at once. Curiously, a rare third rainbow arc is frequently spotted not in the sky, but appearing directly on the lush mountainside nearly 300 feet above the water's surface. World Devil City, China. In the barren reaches of Xinjiang lies a sprawling 160-square-mile labyrinth of stone that seems to be alive with sound. Known as the World Devil City, this terrain consists of yadang formations, strange mounds of earth sculpted into the shapes of sphinxes, warships, and medieval castles. By millions of years of wind erosion, "100 million years ago, this harsh desert was actually a vast freshwater lake where dinosaurs thrived, but today it is a graveyard of geological ghosts. When the wind rushes through the eroded cavities of the stone, it is bent and amplified, creating eerie roars, haunting cries, and echoes that sound like a choir of trapped spirits. As the sun sets, the shadows stretch across the stone, ships that will never sail. and the landscape transforms into a terrifyingly beautiful instrument of the elements. It is a place that captures the sound of the Earth's slow decay, a reminder of the power of sand and air to erase entire civilizations and ecosystems. Walking through the narrow alleys of the city, the silence is heavy until the wind suddenly strikes a high note against the rock walls. This area was once a prehistoric paradise, but it has been ground down into a silent cemetery of stone. Despite its name, the haunting roars are merely the result of natural physics acting upon the hollowed-out labyrinth. Gao Yiling, China, hidden within the Zhangjiajie region, is a landscape so surreal it resembles a digital render of a Martian fortress. Gao Yiling is characterized by its dragon-back terrain, where massive ridges of smooth, bare red rock cut sharply through vibrant turquoise lakes. These scarlet ridges were carved over millions of years by water and wind, resulting in narrow, knife-edge walkways that plunge hundreds of feet down into the water on both sides. There are no guardrails, no ropes, and absolutely no safety equipment for the travelers who choose to walk along this dragon spine. Every step is a test of balance and nerve, as you stand on unpolished, raw nature that refuses to be tamed by human intervention. The contrast between the lush green vegetation and the bare, polished rock creates a visual tension that is both beautiful and deeply intimidating. It is a place that feels prehistoric, as if a sleeping titan is resting just beneath the surface of the red clay. Looking down from the height of the ridges, the symmetry of the erosion is difficult to justify through conventional geology. One iconic section of the ridge juts out into the water in the perfect shape of a giant lizard crawling down for a drink. Travelers here must rely entirely on their own balance, as the vertical cliffs offer no second chances for those who lose their footing. Yai Mountain, China. Rising from the earth in Shanxi province is a mountain system that defies almost every standard of geological development. Unlike most mountains that flare at the base, Yai Mountain consists of sheer cliffs that rise roughly 900 feet straight up, like massive natural walls built from red brick. The rock layers here are approximately 1,400,000,000 years old, standing in a startling color contrast to the turquoise river that flows through the deep canyon below. These massive walls rise higher than a 20-story building at near 90-degree angles, creating a fortress-like atmosphere that feels engineered rather than natural. It is the ultimate definition of a vertical fortress, where the transition between the valley floor and the summit is instantaneous. To sustain the visual of its waterfalls during the dry seasons, large water pipelines have been concealed directly inside the ancient rock mass, showing a level of human control over the landscape that is rarely seen on this scale. The mountain serves as a monument to deep time, yet it is also a site of modern engineering curiosity. A glass panel on a walkway over 3,000 feet above the ground actually fractured in the year 2015. Despite that terrifying legacy, visitor numbers continued to rise as people sought to test their nerves against the sheer, vertical reality of the ancient red stone walls. Mount Fanjingshan, China, deep in Guizhou province, stands a sacred stone pillar that appears to be an isolated island floating in a sea of space. Mount Fanjingshan is famous for its main summit, which is split completely in two at the top, forming two separate stone towers that rise vertically into the air. Each of these pillars holds an ancient Buddhist temple, and the two towers are linked by a narrow stone bridge suspended over a terrifyingly deep ravine. This mountain is the result of 65 million years of erosion, leaving a single vertical column with near 90-degree cliffs that reach over 7,500 feet above sea level. To reach the temples, devotees and travelers must ascend 8,888 exposed stone steps cut into the cliff edges. It is a journey of intense physical struggle and spiritual devotion, where every step takes you further away from the terrestrial world and closer to the clouds. The mountain is regarded as the sacred site of the future Buddha, a place where the physical and the metaphysical seem to merge from a distance. The entire mountain looks like a giant stone thumb pointing toward the heavens in a gesture of eternal silence. It stands as a solitary mass in the sky, a thumb of stone that has survived tectonic shifts of the ages to remain a lonely guardian of clouds. Mount Emei, China. High in Sichuan province sits one of the four sacred Buddhist mountains, a place where the human spirit seems to dissolve into the atmospheric sublime. At the summit, 10,167 feet above sea level, stands a colossal gold statue of Samantabhadra, This masterpiece of gilded bronze weighs 728 tons and rises 157 feet into the thin mountain air. But the true mystery occurs when the sun hits the clouds at just the right angle. You stand on the edge of a precipice, and a perfect circular rainbow, known as the Buddha halo, forms directly around your shadow, making it appear as though you are a celestial being. The mountain is a sanctuary of peace, where more than 2,000 years of religious heritage have preserved an incredible range of life. It is home to roughly 10% of all plant species found in the country, creating a lush rainforest at the base that transitions into a frozen world at the top. The permanent sea of clouds is so thick that it behaves like a liquid, sometimes cascading over the cliffs in a massive cloud fall that drops thousands of feet into the silent valleys below. It is a world where gravity, light, and faith converge to create a sensory experience that feels entirely detached from the modern world. The ancient peaks remain silent. Mount Mian, China. In the rugged terrain of Shanxi province, there is a city that dangles over the abyss, defying every standard of a foundation. Mount Mian is home to an architectural complex where multi-story palaces and ancient temples are anchored directly into the face of near-vertical cliffs. These structures sit at elevations exceeding 6,500 feet, connected by walkways that are often nothing more than narrow wooden planks bolted into the raw stone. Walking through these halls, you can look out a window and see a 2,000-foot drop straight into a jagged canyon. It is a place built by those who valued solitude and safety from the world below more than they feared the abyss. The engineering required to transport thousands of tons of material to these heights over centuries is a mystery of human persistence. This is the ultimate expression of the architectural will to inhabit the uninhabitable, a place where peace is found in the thin air and dangerous heights. Deep within the shadow of these cliffside temples lie naturally preserved mummified monks, their intact skeletons still resting inside their statues. A fact only recently confirmed by modern X-ray scans. Despite the harsh mountain climate, these silent guardians have remained in their meditative poses for centuries, watching over the canyon from their floating stone perches. It is a city that exists between the earth and heaven. Longmen Grottoes, China, along the banks of the Yi River in Henan province. A limestone cliff face has been transformed into a vertical beehive of sacred art. The Longmen Grottoes represent a massive stone archive containing over 100,000 Buddha statues carved directly into the rock. This monumental project required 400 years of uninterrupted labor, beginning in the year 493. As you walk along the river, you are dwarfed by figures standing 56 feet tall, while right beside them are carvings smaller than 1 inch in height. Each statue displays unique body proportions and facial features, reflecting the shifting artistic styles of multiple dynasties. Standing before the giant Vairocana Buddha, you realize you are looking at the collective soul of generations of stonemasons who devoted their entire lives to a single cliff. The scale contrast is dizzying, making you feel both insignificant and deeply connected to human history. The site serves as a physical manifestation of generational patience, a testament to what humans can achieve when they work toward a goal that outlives them. Carved into the very same limestone walls are 140 ancient medical prescriptions. Functioning as a stone pharmacy for the past 1,500 years. Remarkably, out of the entire 100,000 figures, researchers have found that no two faces are exactly alike. It is a masterpiece of prehistoric biological and cultural data. Lashan Giant Buddha, China. At the confluence of three major rivers in Sichuan stands a monument so vast it has become part of the mountain itself. The Lashan Giant Buddha is a 233-foot-tall figure carved into a red sandstone cliff. The project was led by a monk named Hai Tong in the year 713, who believed the massive presence of the Buddha would calm the violent river currents that were sinking local boats. After 90 years of labor, the mountain was transformed into a human form that has stood guard over the water for over 1,000 years. His shoulders are so wide, they could serve as a basketball court. And his single foot is large enough for 100 people to sit on comfortably from a boat on the river. You look up and realize that the mountain is not just a mountain. It is a person watching you with eternal patience. This act of turning a natural threat into a sacred guardian is a symbol of human resilience and creativity. Hidden behind his massive ears and inside his hair is a sophisticated internal drainage system designed to prevent the stone from eroding in the rain. Local legend suggests the statue possesses a soul, as witnesses have claimed his eyes close or tears appear during years linked to major disasters. He is a silent witness. Yuanyang Rice Terraces, China. The mountains of Yunnan province hold a landscape that has been described as a form of natural artificial intelligence made from mud and water. The Yuanyang rice terraces have been carved into the slopes for over 1,300 years by the Han people using only simple hand tools and water buffalo. These thousands of tiered pools function through an intricate gravity-fed irrigation system that channels water from the primary forests at the summits all the way down to the valley floor. At sunset, the flooded fields turn into a psychedelic stained glass window, with each plot reflecting a different shade of red, purple, and gold. This creates a giant liquid palette that changes every minute as the sun dips below the horizon. It is a perfect, symbiotic relationship between human survival and the Earth's natural cycles, operating without the need for modern pumps or electricity. Walking along the narrow ridges between the pools, you feel the peace of a 1,000-year-old rhythm that has never been broken. The system has operated continuously for over a millennium, proving that ancient wisdom often outlasts modern technology. The striking red color found in many of the ponds during the winter is actually caused by a specific type of aquatic red algae that thrives in the mineral-rich water. This complex network of mud and stone is an organic computer that manages life itself. It is a masterpiece. Qiantang River, China. Every year, the Qiantang River in Zhejiang province becomes the stage for a celestial event of immense power, known as the Silver Dragon. The tidal bore is the largest river-mouth wave on Earth, created when ocean tides are forced into the narrow funnel of the river. The result is a fast-moving wall of water that rises nearly 30 feet high and charges upstream against the natural flow of the river. It moves at a speed of 25 miles per hour, creating a roar so loud it can be heard miles away like a low-flying jet engine. Before the wave arrives, the river is a mirror of calm, but within seconds, it transforms into a violent force that can overturn a massive vessel in just 3 seconds. This is the clockwork of the cosmos made visible, driven by astronomical cycles that have been recorded for over 2,500 years. For the local people, the arrival of the wave is a traditional festival, a moment to witness the raw, unstoppable power of gravity and the moon. It is a visceral reminder of our smallness in the face of planetary mechanics, a spectacle that feels both terrifying and deeply grounding. The bore arrives at almost the exact predicted time every year, a testament to the mathematical precision of the universe. If any boat is left in the water when the wave hits, it is destroyed. Ulan Lake, China. In the frozen wilderness of Jilin province, a ritual is performed every winter that feels like it belongs to a forgotten era. Ulan Lake is the site of a massive fishing operation where over 2 million pounds of fish are harvested from beneath 3 feet of solid ice. This method dates back over 1,000 years to the Liao dynasty and relies entirely on horse-powered winches instead of modern engines. Huge nets, stretching over 1.25 miles in length, are threaded through hundreds of holes drilled into the ice with precise spacing. In temperatures that often drop to -40 degrees, thousands of people gather on the white surface to watch the giant horses pull the heavy nets out of the water. It is a scene of incredible scale and endurance, where the survival of the community is linked to an ancient understanding of the lake's ecosystem. The harvest is a moment of intense activity, surrounded by the silent, frozen expanse of the Northeast Asian winter. Despite the massive amount of fish taken in just a few weeks, the lake remains balanced through natural regeneration and a strict adherence to traditional laws. No modern machinery is allowed on the ice during the festival to ensure the sacred nature of the hunt is preserved. This sustainable harvesting system has survived for a millennium, proving that tradition can exist in harmony with extreme natural conditions. The horses wait. Three Gorges Dam, Hubei Province. In the industrial heart of Hubei Province stands a structure so gargantuan that it has fundamentally altered the physical mechanics of our planet. The Three Gorges Dam is not just a hydroelectric project. It is a weight so concentrated that it shifted the geographic pole of the Earth by 2 centimeters and slowed our world's rotation by 0.06 microseconds. To create this behemoth, 1,300,000 people were relocated, as 13 cities and over 1,000 villages vanished beneath the rising tide. You stand atop a concrete wall nearly 600 feet high, holding back a reservoir that contains 42 billion tons of water. The sheer pressure of the mass is almost incomprehensible. A monument to the era where humanity became a force of planetary physics, it uses 510,000 tons of steel, an amount sufficient to construct 63 Eiffel Towers. Looking down into the churning spillway, you feel the raw power of a tamed river, yet the stillness of the water behind the wall feels like a heavy, unnatural silence. It is a place where engineering has reached a scale that dwarfs the individual, making you feel the true weight of civilization. The mass of the water is so immense that it actually creates reservoir-induced seismicity, triggering small earthquakes in the surrounding crust. We did not just build a dam, we physically moved the earth. Zhangjiajie Expressway, Sichuan Province. Winding through the rugged mountains of Sichuan Province is a transportation achievement often referred to as the ladder to the sky. The Zhangjiajie Expressway is a highway that defies the brutal topography of the region, crossing 12 geological fault zones and ancient volcanic systems with latent activity. Over half of this soaring roadway is composed of deep-span bridges or tunnels drilled directly into the heart of towering rock faces. On average, the road climbs 25 feet for every mile traveled. As a driver, you experience rapid microclimate shifts that feel like jumping between seasons in a heartbeat. You can enter a dark tunnel under intense, blinding sunlight and emerge 10 minutes later into a heavy, swirling snowstorm caused by the extreme altitude difference between the entrances. This project represents the human desire to connect the most isolated regions of the world, regardless of the cost or the complexity of the terrain. The experience is both terrifying and majestic. A thin ribbon of asphalt suspended over bottomless valleys. It is known locally as the Road to Heaven because of its dizzying height and the way it disappears into the mist. Most of the time, the clouds are not above you, but swirling beneath your wheels as you drive through open space. Ruyi Bridge, Zhejiang Province, suspended above a deep, jagged canyon in Zhejiang Province, is a pedestrian structure that looks more like a futuristic sculpture than a functional walkway. The Ruyi Bridge is defined by its continuously curving form, mimicking the double helix shape of a strand of human DNA. Unlike conventional bridges that rely on straight lines and rigid geometry, this double-deck glass bridge curves through the air at a height of approximately 460 feet. The walking surface is made of transparent tempered glass, exposing the vertical separation between your boots and the canyon floor 40 stories below. Because the bridge is entirely non-linear, your brain struggles to find a horizon or a straight axis for balance, creating the unsettling sensation of floating on a silk ribbon in the wind. This is engineering elevated to high art, a structure that celebrates the fluid beauty of the natural world while utilizing cutting-edge material science. It sits in a landscape of high-altitude winds and steep terrain, a silver curve that seems to defy the gravity pulling at its frame. This curvature actually serves an essential engineering function as it disperses extreme wind loads and reduces stress concentration across the steel framework. Even though it looks as though it should collapse under its own weight, it has maintained perfect mechanical stability for years. Taiheng Glass Platform, Hebei Province. Perched on the edge of a sheer cliff in the Taiheng Grand Canyon is a suspended structure designed to test the limits of your central nervous system. This glass platform hangs over an immense depth of more than 3,000 feet, offering a direct view into the crimson heart of the canyon below. The surrounding sandstone cliffs glow in intense shades of red, creating a landscape that feels like a prehistoric fortress. As you step out onto the transparent surface, infrared sensors detect your movement and trigger the sound of shattering glass, while visual fractures appear to spread beneath your feet. It is a calculated psychological test, using modern technology to amplify our primal, evolutionary fear of heights. The contrast between the ancient, unmoving stone and the high-tech trickery of the platform creates a visceral sense of vulnerability. It is a place where the adrenaline of the abyss meets the beauty of the geological past. Beyond the platform, the sheer cliffs tell a story of human grit, as many of the roads leading to this site were hand-cut into the rock using nothing but hammers and chisels over several decades. For those seeking even more intensity, a high-altitude zip line stretches between the two cliff faces, allowing you to fly directly across the red void of the canyon. kiss, Chongqing, high above the Wulong Karst region. Two gargantuan figures rise from the edge of a 3,200-foot cliff. These are the statues of the Flying Kiss, a pair of hydraulic levers standing 170 feet tall that simulate a celestial romance. What makes this experience truly unsettling is the complete absence of traditional safety measures. There are no seats, no seat belts, and no harnesses for the passengers standing within the giant palms. As the mechanical arms swing out over the yawning gorge, you are suspended 3,000 feet in the air with nothing but a metal railing between you and the abyss. The statues rotate 360 degrees before tilting their heads at a precise angle to simulate a kiss. A moment where the horizon seems to tilt and vanish. It is a bizarre intersection of kitsch art and extreme thrill, a place where the fear of falling is used as a form of entertainment. You feel the vibration of the machinery through your feet as the wind of the canyon whips around the metal figures. While critics have often labeled it as one of the ugliest structures in the country, it remains one of the most pulse-pounding sensations on Earth. The total height of the experience is equivalent to standing on top of 22 stacked Statues of Liberty. It draws thousands of people, Zhangjiajie Bridge, Hunan Province. Spanning the massive Dihang Canyon in Hunan Province is a bright orange ribbon of steel that seems to hang by a thread. The Zhangjiajie Bridge is a suspension masterpiece that sits 1,100 feet above the valley floor, connecting two mountain peaks with a single span of nearly 4,000 feet. Before this bridge existed, crossing this treacherous valley required 30 minutes of white-knuckle driving on dangerous mountain switchbacks. But today, that journey is completed in just 60 seconds. Because the terrain was far too steep for conventional ground cranes, engineers had to use a helicopter to fly the initial pilot cables across the void, a high-altitude aerial stunt that lasted for 4 years. Driving across it feels less like traveling on a road and more like piloting an aircraft. As the world below is reduced to a miniature model of tiny trees and silver rivers, it represents a total victory over geography, turning a formidable natural barrier into a seamless connection. The bridge is painted a vivid orange to ensure it remains visible, even when the dense mountain fog swallows the canyon whole. Despite the hundreds of vehicles crossing every hour, the entire structure is supported by just two main suspension cables stretched between the peaks. Thousands of tons of steel are effectively floating in the thin mountain air above the deep, green gorge. Nongzun Ancien Town, Zhejiang Province. In the quiet corners of Zhejiang Province lies a water town that was once the secret economic engine of an empire. Nongzun Ancient Town was the Silicon Valley of the 19th century, built on the immense global profits of the silk trade. At its peak, the combined fortunes of the local clans were rumored to exceed the imperial treasury, allowing them to build an architectural dreamscape where east meets west. You walk through a town where stone bridges were assembled with such mathematical precision that they require no cement or binding material to hold them against the pressure of the canals. When the water is still, the reflection of each stone arch forms a hauntingly perfect circle, a visual loop that feels like a gateway into the past. The defining feature is the 100-room complex, a continuous row of exactly 100 connected houses, sheltered by a shared roof that allows you to traverse the town without ever touching the rain. It is a place of deep shadows and soft water, where the legacy of wealth is felt in the intricate carvings of every doorway. The town's immense fortune was built entirely on the labor of humble silkworms, yet the resulting architecture rivals the grandest palaces of Europe. It remains a liquid dream where the reflections are often more vivid than the reality of the stone streets. Ming Tombs. Beijing. Nestled in a valley near Beijing is a sacred landscape designed to protect the eternal rest of an imperial line. The Ming Tombs serve as the final residence for 13 emperors who ruled between the 14th and 17th centuries, arranged according to the ancient principles of feng shui. To reach the burial mounds, you must walk the spirit way, a long ritual axis lined with 24 monumental stone animals shown standing and kneeling in eternal guard. Walking this path at dawn, as the mist clings to the massive stone elephants and camels, within Axo, you feel the crushing weight of a dynasty that shaped the world. The Great Red Gate marks the threshold of this realm, a place where even the most powerful officials were required to dismount their horses and proceed on foot out of respect for the dead. It is a silent, sprawling archive of a lost era, where the architecture was built to last for 10,000 years. The central ritual marker is a divine merit stone, mounted on the back of a massive tortoise, weighing approximately 300 tons. While we know where these emperors lie, most of the tombs have remained completely unexcavated for centuries to avoid disturbing the spirits of the dead. It is a city of shadows where the silence is guarded by a stone army. The emperors sleep in peace. We have drifted through 28 separate worlds today, each a fragment of a reality that feels almost too vast to comprehend. From the frozen silence of a high crater lake to the thunderous pulse of a shifting river, we have witnessed the Earth in its most raw and defiant forms. It is a profound reminder that we are small travelers on an ancient, restless rock, caught between the slow patience of nature and the relentless drive of human ambition. These mysteries prove that the world is not a static map, but a living, breathing entity that refuses to be fully tamed. Our journey through this hidden terrain does not truly end. It simply shifts toward a new, unseen horizon. The world still holds secrets waiting to be felt. Keep looking closer.